how Nietzsche's philosophy liberates you from your fake self. Alright guys, get ready for something deep, something that's going to shake up the way you think about yourself and your life. Today, we're diving into a topic that's both liberating and terrifying at the same time. The title of this video is How Nietzsche's Philosophy Liberates You from Your Fake Self. Alright guys, get ready for something deep, something that's going to shake up the way you think about yourself and your life. Today we're diving into a topic that's both liberating and terrifying at the same time. The title of this video is How Nietzsche's Philosophy Liberates You from Your Fake Self. Nietzsche's philosophy is like a wrecking ball to everything you thought you knew about yourself. He's going to show us how much of our lives is built on lies, not malicious lies, but lies of comfort, lies of comfort, lies of conformity, lies designed to protect us from the terrifying truth of who we really are. So, let's start pulling apart these layers and find out how Nietzsche can help you break free from the fake version of yourself and, finally, become who you're meant to be. Think about it: how much of your day is spent doing things you think you should do? Going to a job that maybe doesn't resonate with you, following trends, engaging in conversations that don't really interest you. Who told you that's what your life should look like? Nietzsche would say that most of us are caught in what he called the herd mentality. We're following the crowd, living according to values and beliefs that society has imposed on us. And the worst part, we do it without even realizing it. Nietzsche's solution to this is radical. It's called the concept of the Übermensch, the overman or superman. No, it's not about flying around in capes or having superpowers. The Übermensch is about transcending the limitations that society, culture, and even our own fears have placed on us. It's about creating your own values, your own path, and living authentically without being held back by the expectations of others. But how do we get there? How do we break free from this fake self we've been living as?
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
The first step is to recognize that the values you live by might not actually be yours. Nietzsche called this the process of revaluation of values. He believed that most people are living by values that were handed down to them, whether by religion, culture, or their upbringing. These values often serve the interests of the herd, not the individual. They keep you comfortable, but comfort, Nietzsche argues, is the enemy of greatness. So, the question you need to ask yourself is, whose values are you living by? Are they truly yours? Or have you adopted them because they were easier, because they were what was expected of you? Nietzsche believed that to be truly free, you must first destroy the values that were imposed on you. It's not about rejecting everything for the sake of rebellion. This is about consciously choosing the values by which you want to live. Take a moment to think about this. What if everything you believe about success, happiness, and morality was handed to you by someone else? What if those beliefs are holding you back from becoming your true self? Nietzsche's challenge is to tear those beliefs down, to confront the uncomfortable truth that the life you are living might not be the life you truly want. But here's where it gets even more intense. Nietzsche wasn't just talking about external values like what society says is right or wrong. He's also talking about the stories we tell ourselves, the lies we use to protect ourselves from discomfort. How many times have you told yourself, "I can't do that because I'm not good enough," or "that's just not who I am"? Nietzsche would say that's just another form of self-deception. It's part of the fake self you've created to avoid facing the truth of your own potential. Nietzsche believed that most people are terrified of their own power, their own potential for greatness. It's easier to stay small, to stay comfortable, to live within the limits of the fake self. But the Übermensch doesn't stay small. The Übermensch creates himself, constantly pushing beyond the boundaries of comfort, of fear, of societal expectations. Here's a deep question for you. What would your life look like if you weren't afraid of your own potential? What would you do if you didn't care about what others thought? If you didn't limit yourself with the stories and excuses you've been living by? Nietzsche believed that this is the ultimate act of freedom, when you stop living as the fake self and start living as the person you are capable of becoming. But now we have to ask the hard question: what's stopping you from doing that? Why are you clinging to this fake self when, deep down, you know there's something greater inside you? The answer is fear. Nietzsche called it the abyss. When you confront your fake self, when you tear down the values and beliefs that have comforted you for so long, you stare into the abyss of uncertainty. It's terrifying because you no longer have the safety net of knowing who you should be. You're left with the freedom and the responsibility of deciding who you want to be. But as Nietzsche said, he who fights with monsters should be careful lest he thereby become a monster. And if you gaze long enough into an abyss, the abyss will gaze back into you. What does that mean? It means that when you confront the abyss, when you confront the fake self, you have to be careful not to let that fear consume you. It's easy to fall back into the comfort of the herd, to retreat from the abyss and continue living the safe, fake version of yourself. So, how do you face the abyss and come out stronger? Nietzsche believed that the answer lies in creation. The Übermensch doesn't just destroy the old values and the fake self, he creates something new. He creates his own values, his own purpose, his own identity. This is what Nietzsche called the act of self-overcoming. It's not enough to tear down the fake self, you have to build something in its place. You have to actively create the person you want to become. But creation is hard. It requires effort, discipline, and courage. It means stepping into the unknown and embracing the discomfort of growth. But what's the alternative? Continuing to live as a fake version of yourself, hiding from your own potential, avoiding the abyss. Let me ask you this: what are you willing to sacrifice in order to become your true self? Nietzsche believed that greatness requires sacrifice of comfort, of safety, of the fake self. But the reward, true freedom, true power, the ability to live authentically without being held back by the expectations of others or the limitations you've placed on yourself. The abyss and the creation of the true self, Nietzsche's path to ultimate freedom. So, as we dive deeper into Nietzsche's philosophy, we've reached the pivotal moment, the abyss. This is the point where you stare into the vast emptiness of life without the comforting illusion of your fake self. It's terrifying, right? Because once you strip away the fake values, the expectations of society, the stories you've told yourself about who you are, what's left? The abyss represents that moment of uncertainty where nothing is predefined. It's the fear of the unknown, the fear of being lost without a map, without a clear identity handed down to you. Nietzsche knew that many people would turn back at this point. Most of us would rather cling to the fake self than face the abyss of not knowing who we are or who we could become. But that's where the real transformation happens. Nietzsche believed that freedom, real freedom, only comes when you confront the abyss and emerge on the other side. This is where the concept of self-creation comes into play. The fake self is a product of external forces, society, culture, family, expectations. But the true self, that's something you have to create. It's not something that's handed to you. It's the result of deliberate, conscious effort. But let's get real for a second. Creating yourself isn't easy. It's a process of trial and error. Nietzsche would say that it's a constant act of becoming. You're never really finished. There's no final version of you that you arrive at. Instead, Nietzsche encourages us to see life as a canvas, and you, as the artist, are constantly refining, adjusting, and pushing the boundaries of who you are. Think about it. What would your life look like if you weren't afraid to reinvent yourself? What if you embraced the uncertainty of the abyss and used it as an opportunity to create a life that's truly yours, one that reflects your deepest desires, values, and ambitions, not just the ones you've inherited or adopted? Nietzsche saw this as the path to the Übermensch, a person who isn't defined by external forces, but by their own creative power. But here's the catch: creation requires destruction. You can't build the true self without first tearing down the fake one. And that's where most people falter. Nietzsche knew that most of us are too attached to our fake selves because they provide comfort and security. But he also knew that comfort is the enemy of growth. So, the question is, are you willing to destroy? Are you willing to destroy the parts of yourself that aren't really you? The beliefs, the labels, the expectations, because only through that destruction can you make space for creation. Destroy to create. Why Nietzsche believes only through chaos can the true self emerge. All right, so now we're at the heart of what Nietzsche was trying to tell us. If you want to become your true self, you're going to have to destroy the fake one. And when Nietzsche talks about destruction, he's not talking about some chaotic, reckless tearing apart of everything in your life. It's a purposeful destruction, a clearing of the ground so that something new and authentic can be built. But why is destruction necessary? Nietzsche understood something profound about human nature. We're creatures of habit. Over time, we build up layers of beliefs, values, routines, and identities, most of which we didn't even choose. These layers accumulate so slowly that we don't realize we're trapped beneath them. They become like a second skin, and it's easy to mistake them for who we really are. But here's the problem: if you never question these layers, you'll never know what's underneath them. You'll never know who you could be. This is why Nietzsche talks about chaos. Chaos, for him, isn't just disorder for its own sake. It's creative. It's the force that breaks down the old so that something new can emerge. He famously said, "You must have chaos within you to give birth to a dancing star." What does that mean? It means that in order to create something truly beautiful, whether it's your life, your identity, your purpose, you need to embrace the chaos of uncertainty, of destruction, of not knowing who you are for a while. Let me ask you something: how many times have you held on to something that wasn't serving you just because it felt familiar? Maybe it was a job, a relationship, or even a way of thinking. You knew it wasn't helping you grow, but you stayed because the alternative, stepping into the unknown, felt too chaotic, too scary. Nietzsche would say that this fear of chaos is exactly what keeps us stuck in our fake selves. But here's where the magic happens. When you destroy the fake self, the layers of societal expectations, inherited beliefs, and fears, you create the space for something new to emerge. That's the creation Nietzsche is talking about. You get to decide who you are. You get to build your own values, your own purpose, your own identity. The chaos isn't something to be feared, it's something to be feared, it's something to be embraced. It's the fertile ground from which the true self can grow. But let's be honest, this process is messy. It's not linear. You might destroy one part of your fake self only to realize there's another layer beneath it. It's a constant process of deconstruction and reconstruction. But Nietzsche would say that this is what makes life worth living. It's not about arriving at some perfect version of yourself. It's about becoming over and over again. So here's the deeper question: what are you holding on to right now that needs to be destroyed? What beliefs, habits, or identities have you built up that are keeping you from becoming your true self? And are you willing to embrace the chaos that comes with letting them go? The eternal return of creation how Nietzsche's philosophy guides you to reinvent your life continuously. All right, we've reached the final piece of this journey, and it's one of Nietzsche's most intriguing and, frankly, mind-bending concepts: the eternal return. Now, this is where Nietzsche turns everything we've talked about so far completely on its head. The idea of the eternal return is simple but profound. Imagine that you had to live your life over and over again, exactly as it is, for all eternity. Every decision, every success, every failure repeated infinitely. How would you feel about that? At first glance, this idea can seem terrifying. If you're living a life that's not truly yours, if you're stuck in the fake self, following values that aren't your own, then the thought of repeating that life forever sounds like a nightmare. But Nietzsche didn't propose this concept to scare us, well, maybe a little. He did it to challenge us. The eternal return is a test, a way to force yourself to confront the question, am I living a life that I would want to live again and again? This is where everything we've talked about comes full circle. If you're living according to your fake self, if you're avoiding chaos and holding on to comfort, then the idea of eternal repetition is unbearable. But if you're living authentically, if you've embraced the chaos, destroyed the fake self, and created a life that's truly yours, then the eternal return isn't a curse. It's a blessing. It's an affirmation that you're living a life so true, so aligned with who you are, that you'd gladly live it again, no matter how many times. So, let me ask you, if you had to live this life exactly as it is, forever, would you want to? And if your answer is no, then that's the signal Nietzsche is giving you. It's time to stop living as the fake self. It's time to embrace the chaos and start creating a life that's worth repeating. But here's the twist: Nietzsche didn't believe in some final, perfect version of yourself. The process of creation never ends. This is why he talks about the eternal return. It's not just about repeating the same life, but about continuously reinventing and recreating yourself. Every day, every moment, you have the opportunity to destroy the old, to embrace the chaos, and to create something new. Life isn't a single act of creation, it's an eternal act of becoming. So, as we wrap up, here's the final question I'll leave you with: what kind of life would you create if you knew you had to live it forever? That's the challenge Nietzsche is posing to us. It's not about reaching some final destination, it's about embracing the journey of becoming over and over again. And remember, the true self isn't something you find, it's something you create. Thanks for watching.